Welcome back to our series on the roots of Islamic terrorism. In our first two episodes, we uncovered the orchestrated acts of terror led by Muhammad against his critics and rivals. Now, in the third episode, we unravel the less commonly discussed aspects of the conquest of Mecca, shedding light on the events that challenged the narrative of an entirely peaceful victory. Muslims try so hard to paint the conquest of Mecca as a peaceful event, but we're here to examine the historical records. So if you want to know how really peaceful the conquest of Mecca was, stay with us, because it's coming up.
اونجایی که در مقابل اغتشاشگری، در مقابل تعدی از قانون قرار میگیرد حکومت اسلامی، بایستی با قدرت، با قاطعیت، با خشونت، از اسم خشونت که نباید ترسید، رفتار بکند. پیغمبر اکرم وارد مکه شد، عده‌ای را به نام ذکر کرد، گفت هر کجا اینها رو یافتید، هر کس دست بر اینها پیدا کرد اینها را بکشد. توشون 4 زن بود و عده‌ای مرد. امام رضوان الله علیه گفت هر کس سلمان رشدی رو پیدا کرد او رو بکشه. امروز هم رهبری اگر در طبق احکام اسلام یک جا تکلیفش اقتضا کنه علنی خواهد گفت.
In the aftermath of migrating from Mecca to Medina in 622 CE, Muhammad took significant steps to establish an Islamic state with the support of the two major Medinan tribes, collectively nicknamed as Ansar. Muhammad continued to gain strength by plundering the wealth of the Jewish tribes around Medina and raiding the commercial caravans passing by Medina, very similar to what Houthi rebels do or did to commercial ships passing by Yemen through Red Sea in 2024. By the year 630 CE, Muhammad had amassed a large enough army to conquer Mecca without a battle. So yes, the army of Islam entered the city without shedding blood, and Muhammad declared that whoever surrendered was safe, but he also ordered dozens of people to be killed no matter what, even if they were clinging to the curtains of the Kaaba, a place traditionally considered a sacred sanctuary and off-limits for violence for all the Arab tribes, even by the pagans and polytheists in pre-Islamic period. In Ibn Hisham's The Life of Muhammad, under the chapter The Conquest of Mecca, page 150, we find a revealing tale. The apostle ordered that certain men should be killed, even if they were found under the curtains of the Kaaba. Among them was Abdullah bin Khatal, who had been one of the Banu Taym bin Ghalib. He had become a Muslim, and the apostle sent him to collect the poor tax in company with one of the Ansar. He had with him a freed slave who served him. He was Muslim. When he halted, he ordered the latter to kill a goat for him and prepare some food, and went to sleep. When he woke up, the man had done nothing, so he attacked and killed him and apostatized. He had 2 singing girls, Fartana and her friend, who used to sing satirical songs about the apostle, so he ordered that they should be killed with him. In the book of At-Tabari, The History of the Prophets and Kings, the story is mentioned in volume 8, page 181. The messenger of God entered Mecca on the day of the conquest, and there were 36 men whom he ordered to be killed. They were caught and killed, except for those who fled or those whom he pardoned before they were brought to him. Among those whom he ordered to be killed was Abdullah bin Khatal. He had killed a Muslim slave of his and then joined the polytheists in Mecca. He had 2 slave girls who would sing his verses in which he reviled the messenger of God. The messenger of God ordered that they should be killed along with him. Let us stop here and examine this paragraph. Muhammad ordered that a man who had apostatized and his 2 slave girls be killed. Khatal had to be killed not because he had killed his Muslim slave, but because he had apostatized. Because if we go with At-Tabari's narration, according to Islamic law, If a free man kills a slave, he will not be killed for this matter, but he will have to pay blood money to the owner of the slave. Even if we go with Ibn Hisham's account, considering the freed slave narration, Muhammad still ordered that the slave girls be killed because they sang satirical poems against him. Note that they had sung these poems years before the conquest in mockery of Muhammad. Note that these slave girls were not a threat to Islam or the newly established Islamic government. They were only slave girls. Slaves who merely sang their masters' mocking poems faced execution, showcasing Muhammad's ruthless response to those who ridiculed him and his ideology. Even if they were innocently following their master's orders in a slavery system where disobedience meant severe punishment. Muhammad himself had many slaves, and he did know very well that slaves must obey their master no matter what. Ibn Sa'd's book, At-Tabaqat al-Kabir, Volume 2, pages 168 to 169, outline the aftermath. He was hiding under the curtains of the Kaaba when he was seen by one of the Ansar, who killed him as a favor to the Apostle of Allah. He also killed one of his 2 singing girls. The other escaped, took refuge with one of the sons of al-Harith bin al-Khazraj, and he asked the Apostle of Allah to grant her protection, and he did so. All major early Muslim historians, Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Sa'd, Al-Waqidi, Ibn Hisham, and At-Tabari, confirmed these 2 successful executions. Here is another twist in the tale. One of the slave girls escapes, the other one is executed. Later, the girl who survived asks for forgiveness and is forgiven. This story again shows that Muhammad ordered killings out of his ruthless butt. They had mocked him, and one of them was killed for this reason. But when the other one, later, when Muhammad was mentally in a safer state after killing his other personal enemies, he forgave the surviving slave girl, and perhaps, knowing Muhammad, we can say right after the Messenger of God ordered that 10 men should be killed when he conquered Mecca. They were a woman named Sarah, a freed slave of one of the Banu al-Harith bin Khazraj. She used to mock the Messenger of God in Mecca. The Messenger of God later pardoned all of them, except 4 men and 2 women. He killed the 2 women, Sarah and other with her. She was either Fartana or Qariba. Another poor female slave who was killed by the direct order of Muhammad was Sarah or Sarah. Al-Waqidi's Kitab al-Maghazi, page 183, recounts this incident as follows. The Messenger of God entered Mecca in the year 630 CE. He ordered that 6 men and 4 women should be killed. He killed Abdullah bin Khatal, Al-Huwayrith bin Nuqayd, and Sarah, the slave girl of Ibn Ubay. He did not kill anyone else. As for Sarah, she used to revile the Messenger of God and disparage him in verses of poetry. She was a black slave belonging to one of the Banu Abdul Muttalib. This narration was recorded in the history books of At-Tabari, Ibn Sa'd, and Ibn Kathir too. Similarly, Ibn Sa'd's The Book of the Major Classes, Volume 2, page 169, in the section titled The Conquest of Mecca, provides also another perspective. Sarah was a client of Amr bin Hashim bin Mughira. She had thrown stones at the Apostle of Allah when he was leaving Mecca for Medina. She fled to the hills on the day of the conquest of Mecca. She was found and killed by one of the companions of the Apostle of Allah. The question arises, did Sarah deserve death merely for throwing stones at Muhammad? Even if Muhammad was injured by her actions, couldn't they have applied the principle of Islamic law known as qisas, which advocates for proportional retaliation? We should all admit that Sarah was also punished to death only because she criticized Muhammad and his ideology. The apostle ordered that certain men should be killed even if they were found under the curtains of the Kaaba. Among them was Al-Huwayrith bin Nuqayd bin Wahb bin Abd bin Qusay, one of those who used to insult him in Mecca. Al-Waqidi, another biographer of Muhammad, confirms this account in his book Kitab al-Maghazi, or Book of Campaigns, page 1010. He writes in the section titled The Killing of Those Who Were to Be Killed on the Day of the Conquest of Mecca. Al-Huwayrith bin Nuqayd was one of those who used to revile the Messenger of God in the Pre-Islamic period. He was killed by Ali bin Abi Talib. However, some Islamic sources have tried to justify the killing of Al-Huwayrith by attributing a different reason to Muhammad. This killing is based on a weak narration that appears as a footnote in Ibn Hisham's book, which means probably Ibn Hisham himself didn't deeply believe in it. Tabari also narrates it like this. Some of them said Al-Huwayrith bin Nuqayd bin Wahb bin Abd bin Qusay had goaded the camel on which the Messenger of God and his companions were riding and made them fall to the ground. He said, "Kill this fat, greasy man, for he is the most evil of people." This report is doubtful to some people. It is possible that At-Tabari, being a Muslim, weakened this narration because he did not approve of a narration in which Muhammad is calling another human these many names. Al-Waqidi reports in his Al-Maghazi, page 3072, Al-Huwayrith had insulted the Messenger of God and his daughters. Even if Al-Huwayrith was responsible for the collapse of the camel carrying Muhammad's daughters, the order of his execution remains ruthless and barbaric by any civilized standard, as the daughters of Muhammad continued to live their lives many years after that incident. Another killing that should really shock and disgust us as civilized human beings is the execution of Nathr bin al-Harith. Here is what the historian Ibn Ishaq wrote about him in his biography of Muhammad, page 136. Among those who mocked the apostle was Nathr bin al-Harith bin Khalada, a man of Quraysh. He used to say, "Muhammad is not a prophet, but a man like us who tells old stories that he has heard from others. If I wanted to tell stories, I could tell better ones than he." Then he would say, "By God, if I were to go to him, I could put his words to silence." He used to relate stories of Rustam and Isfandiar and the kings of Persia, and people would listen to him and abandon the apostle. Rustam and Isfandiar are two legendary heroes from the Persian epic Shahnameh, which means the books of kings. They are famous for their courage, strength, and adventures. Ibn Ishaq also wrote, "The apostle ordered that certain men should be killed, even if they were found behind the curtains of the Kaaba. Among them was Nathr bin al-Harith, a wealthy man of Quraysh, who used to go to Persia and learn the stories of the kings of Persia, Rustam and Isfandiar. And then he came to Mecca and told them to the people. He said, 'By God, Muhammad cannot tell you better stories than these.' He also said Muhammad is only following some of the tales of the ancients. He also composed some verses in which he mocked the apostle. He was killed by Ali at As-Safra." It looks like this Ali guy was effective mercenary for Muhammad's order of executions in Mecca. At-Tabari, Ibn Sa'd, Ibn Hisham, and Al-Waqidi all also confirm this account that Nathr ibn al-Harith was killed only for telling stories and mocking Muhammad. This shows that Muhammad was not tolerant of any dissent or criticism, and he used violence and intimidation to silence his opponents. He killed someone who had just told ancient Persian stories that were more appealing to the people of Mecca than his Quranic stories. This is shocking and disgusting act that should make us question Muhammad's morality, credibility, and perhaps his mental stability. Hey, by the way, if you guys liked what you heard so far, please support us by liking and sharing this video. This will also help more people to receive this awareness and help you to get suggested more similar videos on YouTube. Especially, I ask you for a favor to like the video because so many radical Muslims often attack this channel by disliking its videos to prevent YouTube from spreading its clips. Some of the people who Muhammad ordered to be killed after the conquest of Mecca were later reluctantly forgiven by Muhammad. The most famous ones were Hind bin Utbah and Wahshi bin Harb, who were behind the murder of Muhammad's uncle Hamza at the Battle of Uhud. Hind was the wife of Abu Sufyan, one of Muhammad's biggest enemies in Mecca. She hired Wahshi, a slave, to kill Hamza, Muhammad's favorite uncle, who had slain her father and brothers at the Battle of Badr. Another famous person who was pardoned was Abdullah ibn Sa'd, who used to write down Muhammad's revelations, but then left Islam and doubted Muhammad's prophethood. His story is very interesting and deserves a separate video. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a clip about his up and downs with Muhammad. In the end, remember, it doesn't really matter if Muhammad pardoned them or not. What matters is that Muhammad issued orders of execution, mostly based on his personal obsessions and the apostasy of his ex-followers. Muhammad's tradition of executing the apostates is also a basis for many Islamic clerics to rationalize the execution of those who choose to leave Islam, in addition to the Quranic verse that we presented in the beginning. Before wrapping up, let's take a look at an excerpt from the official website of Iran's supreme leader, which clearly states that Muhammad primarily ordered executions for those involved in what he termed as the soft war against Islam. A soft war is when you use non-violent methods like online campaigns, media outlets, propaganda, peaceful protests, and legal actions to spread your ideas and influence people. It's a war of words and not weapons. It's a battle of ideas, not soldiers. But according to this website and other Islamic factions like the Taliban and Muslim Brotherhood, anyone who does this against Islam deserves to die. Interestingly, while Muslims advocate for the promotion of their ideology worldwide, they often exhibit intolerance towards dissenting views, especially when it challenges their religious principles. This selective approach to freedom of expression reveals a concerning trend of theological bigotry and fanaticism. In practical terms, this twisted and biased perspective on freedom of expression poses a threat to human rights, particularly in regions where Islam holds significant influence. If left unchecked, the unchecked hegemony of Islam could undermine the human rights principles cherished by many nations, leading to dire consequences for civil liberties. We can't let that happen. We have to stand up for our fundamental rights and protect them from being gradually taken away. Let's wake up to these realities and strive for a future where freedom of expression is universally respected, regardless of religious or ideological differences. What do you think about this conclusion? Let us know in the comments. Are you tired of the divisions fueled by nationalism and religious bigotry? If you're yearning for a world that embraces unity and peace, consider supporting our channel by buying us a coffee. As this channel dares to question sensitive but problematic issues, it may never get monetized. Your contribution empowers us to challenge prejudice, bridge gaps, and promote understanding. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also feel free to suggest topics for our next video. Peace out. Till later.
پیغمبر صلی الله علیه و آله و سلم چندین بار برای از بین بردن دشمنان عنودی که در پی ضربه زدن به اسلام بودن افراد فرستادن و غافلگیرانه کشتن. به عنوان نمونه یک زن خبیثی بود به نام اسماء بنت مروان، شاعر بود. شاعرم میدونید اون موقع بزرگترین رسانه بود، بر علیه اسلام اشعار ناجوری میسرود، فوری هم پخش میشد، امنیت روانی مسلمان ها رو به خطر انداخته بود. حضرت عرض کنم امیر ابن عدی مأمور کرد نفوذ کنه داخل عرض کنم قبیله اینها، از یک فرصتی استفاده کنه، غافلگیر کنه، این زن رو بکشه و کشتن. کسی که رسانه‌ای شده علیه اسلام او رو از بین بردن. یا یک یهودی بود، پیرمردی هم بود، ابو افک، هم شاعر بود علیه اسلام، شعر می سرود و هم در